straight here.
Yeah, you're good. You look great. The Buddha's nice behind you too. I like that painting. Okay, we're live on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome everybody on the live and the replay. We got a really great show. This is our last show before we head to Sedona. Sarah R. Adams is going to be with us. I'm going to play a quick intro and allow people time to come in since we've been getting suppressed. So we'll see you in about a minute and 36 seconds.
Todd Medina, Soldier One Studios. What's going on here? Democracies, aristocracies, oligarchies, monarchies, hierarchies, presidents and popes. What's the real dope? What's this all about? Faith, hope, doubt? That's all that earth stuff, man. I am a multi-dimensional, high-vibrational, evolutionary being, and I'm tired of hiding it. I am soul. I don't care who or what tried or is trying to deceive us. Call it the devil or another's Messiah, prophet, or God. It's all the same to me. Whoever they are, they can never take our souls, and that's when we came here to learn. From the burn of being wrong, denying who we are, taking orders, lawless laws, a branded existence, but not anymore. I am divinity. Yeah. Alright. The power we hold to mold the future, heavenly nirvana. From the inside, present, eternal. It's time to be a bolder flame. The game isn't the same. We are the spirit science synthesis, the action of conscious thought, alignment, transmuting to a living wisdom. Yeah. No longer dreaming the life, I am living the dream.
All right. We got Sarah R. Adams in the house with us, a beloved sister. I was just telling her before the show that I remember picking up on her energy back in 2015, 2016. Very diverse wealth of experience to include, in my recollection, not only some of the intuitive stuff that she pulls down for herself, but actually being out there on YouTube for a long, long time. Her involvement with Max Spears, her involvement with a lot of conversations that I saw on YouTube that helped me in my journey, which had to do from everything from Anunnaki to current events in the lightworker communities / conspiracy / disclosure / awakening / none of us really know what the hell's going on. We're figuring it out as we go. But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. And it's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me on your show. And I'm excited because we're going to talk about ETs and just the ascension of this planet and what we can do to help this planet ascend, especially in these chaotic times. Right on, right on.
And we can start with whatever you want to start with. We don't spend a lot of time, we haven't spent, and we're open to everything in 2,200 episodes. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about some of the subjects that you see out there, that we've seen out there that help us to have awakened. When we talked about ETs on this program, we've talked about them as being aspects of ourselves, and this isn't a doctrine or a dogma. We talk about, in my own case, visitation from star family in my bedroom with my beloved, materializing, translucent, other forms of communication. So we're all putting the pieces together, and we can definitely use your input. Where would you start with the ET aspect, the star family? Where would you start with that?
So I'm going to start really high up there.
That's fine.
So all of us, we think we just had this, the unawakened, they think that they have had only this physical body, but we've had many other bodies. We've been many other ET beings. We've been Pleiadians, Arcturians, and many other beings. As far as I know, I've encountered over 200 different ET races. Creation it's limitless. Body.
Oh, we lost your sound. We lost your sound.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. I think I don't know where your mic is, but when you moved back, it went away. So I don't know what. Okay, I'm sorry. So you said you've had over 200 to your recollection, and you're bringing this in that we've all had many incarnations, not only on Earth, but also in the planetary systems, the different star systems, right?
Yes, there are many other galaxies, there are many other dimensions and planets, and we've had thousands of incarnations in different bodies on these different planets in these different dimensions. This is the latest incarnation. This is the latest body that we have chosen. So it's, for me, I've encountered over 200 plus races of ETs, and that is not very much considering, you know, all the life.
It happened again. Anytime we have tech issues, we always have a great show. Somebody said they're hearing spaceship sounds.
That is interesting. I'm in Sedona, Arizona, by the way, right now. Maybe this is a little better.
This sounds better. How long are you going to be there?
I've moved to Sedona, Arizona.
My wife and I are going to be there in 2 days. We're going to be there for until the 1st of October. There's a conference we're going to. There's an event Saturday the 19th, and I'm going to be broadcasting in West Sedona from the 20th till the 30th. Oh. Every day. Right next. Let's see, there's a place in West Sedona called the Stone Age Building or Stone Age something. But
yes.
So it's right next to it, and the name of it is, I can't remember, but I'll get you that information. But there's a lot of people going to be there, so you can't make this shift up. All right, so go ahead and continue. That's a good sidebar, though.
I'm excited for you. Stone is an amazing place, and that's why. So there are over 200 different ET races. I think that we get caught up in thinking we were just Pleiadian or Arcturian or a certain race when we've incarnated in all these different bodies, and we need to understand that we are far more than just this physical body. And even above the ET bodies we've incarnated in, we're God's source. We are God having 3D physical experiences via the bodies, because, it would be kind of boring just constantly to stay energy and not experience anything. So we have all these beautiful worlds and planets and dimensions we're allowed to travel to. So we're constantly and infinitely experiencing beautiful things. And this is why creation is. It's to experience. And it's kind of we're like children in on a playground.
Exactly.
And we need to understand that any of the negative things that happen to us, any of the negative things on this planet, is because we have not stepped into our godhood. We have not stepped into our Christhood. We are all Christ. We are all God. We are our own saviors. And we need to stop being victims and rise into this. Once we rise into this, then we have the power of God, because God has the power over the elements. So we can tell the oceans to heal. We can tell the skies to clear the pollution. We can use that power within us to just heal this planet. And I was in Mount Shasta, and I had the honor of speaking at a conference there. And my message was this: everybody's waiting for the ETs to come and save them. Everybody's waiting for the angels or different beings. They are helping us, but what they're doing is they're waiting for us to rise into our godhood, into our Christhood, because if they came and they rescued us, we would not learn to step into our creator selves. So they're there. They're just waiting for us to ascend back into.
Well, you fit right in here. She's preaching to the choir, as they say in the old Southern religious vernacular. But no, that's great to hear, because we're all this energy here, this vortex. It's not me. It's all of the people that have made it up over the years. It's all about self-empowerment, self-responsibility, self-reliance. And yes, we are the ones that we're waiting for. So we're not going to wait for the spaceships and stuff. And I get what you're saying. And I find this fascinating because of the material that I've seen on YouTube over the years. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've spotted you on YouTube, but given the wealth of your experience, because you were running in some circles where there was kind of the bleeding over of what's happening here that we're taking too seriously, versus what you're talking about now, where we really come from, what our true essence is, and somewhere in the middle, as we're aligning and merging all this stuff and working through all the haziness and the fuzziness. You've been involved in that. What I'm talking about specifically is we're talking about some of the, I guess, what would you call it? The template laid down, be it the narratives laid down, the experiences people have had around the world with what you might call the Illuminati, the 1%, the fourth dimensional nefarious beings, whatever you want to call it. So to hear you say that is a breath of fresh air, because I wouldn't have been surprised if you would have come on here and talked to a little bit, and rightfully so, about what's working against us. But you actually are saying, hey, it's all up to us, right?
We have the power, and this is my message. And like I said, I'm very blessed to be here in Sedona, and the ETs come to me since I was a child, and I go into the council with them often and speak about world issues. This is their message. They were like, tell them that they are creators, that they're powerful, and we're waiting for them to reascend into the stars so that they can join us and we can be one big happy family again.
Right on.
So you have the councils of the ETs, and then you have the different councils. Then you have the councils of what I call those of the ancient light. And our soul actually is the ancient light itself, the original ancient light that manifested. So, they tell them to return to the ancient light within them. And once they return to the ancient light, then they're going to realize that they're all connected, and that we're all connected, and we're one big family of souls, soul energy of light that's traveling via different bodies. So this is definitely this is what they want for us. They want us up. Yes. And yes, we have a lot of dark things on this planet. And I'm not going to avoid saying that. I'm not going to just stay in the whole love and light thing, because I believe in solutions. I believe in looking at, yes, there's darkness, but what solutions can we bring to heal this darkness and clear this darkness from our planet? So recently, we were traveling to Mount Shasta from Sedona, and you have to pass through Area 51. And I go into these different states of God consciousness, because I'm able to bring myself very high up. And then I can also bring myself back down to the 3D human world so that I can speak to you like I'm speaking to you now. And whenever I'm around a place where there's a lot of supernatural things, I go into that other state. So everybody around me, my team, my friends, they are aware of this, and they're very helpful, because
Uh-oh, she's gone. This is strange. Yeah, seems to be happening more and more on these shows, I think, because of the frequency is being raised. It's not about, I don't think, anything working against us or anything like that. I think we're just actually interrupting or, interfering with the frequency. Let's see if we can, let's see if she comes back on. I'm not sure if she knows that she's off, but her screen's black and her audio is off. So, this is interesting, because we really haven't had anyone, to my knowledge, that's come on the show that's run around, that's been in these circles. I don't know if you guys have heard of Max Spears. He transitioned, I think, 2 to 4 years ago. She was very involved with him in a lot of productions in that circle. So her perception is really, perspective is really important. I don't see you, Sarah. Can you hear me? You might have to go, there's a settings icon on the screen. If you click that, it should be already set up, though. So I'm not really sure if that's a signal issue. I know we've had some issues with the signal when we're broadcasting with people from Sedona. Let's see here. Thank you, Genesis. Here she comes. I don't know if she's going to be able to. She's not showing up. I think she's went into the higher dimension. So, if something doesn't work today, then what we can do is, I'm going to be in Sedona. We're going to be in Sedona, in 2 nights. And I'll go find Sarah R. Adams, and we'll just do the show sitting side by side, and because it looks like maybe that's what the universe is wanting us to do. I don't know, but we're going to give it a couple more minutes and see if she can get back on. And I think I'm going to go ahead and send her a note and just tell her that we can do this in Sedona. Let's see, she's back. Oh, here she's back. Okay. Did you hear any of that?
I heard that you're going to be in Sedona. I could hear you, but I don't think you could hear me. So
No, you were blacked out. But I was just going to say, if we have any more issues, why don't I just, if we do, I'll find you in Sedona, and we'll just, if you're okay with it, we'll just sit side by side and do a show together.
that would be awesome.
If you'd like to. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. I forgot where we left off.
So,
but you know, I have a very curious mind, and part of the reason I ask the questions I do is because we all have our specialties. Mine is to kind of absorb the field of our brothers and sisters, and so it's kind of a universal or blanket question, blanket answers. For someone like you, though, you've got such an in-depth experience. How do you navigate on a daily basis, given everything that you've experienced? And that's both off planet, so to speak, and on planet. How do you navigate this? How do you look at the stuff that's out there, the child trafficking, the pedophilia, all the stuff that's coming to the surface, and not get over polarized and continue to maintain your balance and still pull down the stuff and anchor and embody that you're here to do on the earth?
Because when you can enter a person's soul and you can feel everything about them and see everything about them, you know why they are mothers is because they're deeply hurt. So you have uttermost unconditional compassion for them, because some of the people who have done the most evil things on this planet have suffered the greatest, and in turn they spread suffering because of this. So I can't help but have compassion on them. When we're in God Creator's space, we realize that this physical body is but a breath of air, and we look at the soul, and we have deep love for that soul. We understand why certain people, souls, when they got lost in bodies, have done the things that they've done. They've got very lost, and in that hurt, they have also hurt others.
Yeah.
One hurts another when they are deeply hurt and within themselves, and when they have been deeply hurt.
Yeah, true. That's right. Every and we've talked about this a lot, on this show over the years, in terms of, child molestation, rape, incest. The perpetrator has a story too, right? And you're basically embodying what you've gained from, let's say, the higher realms, and applied it to your experience here. You're not carrying a charge. You're in that neutral zone, aren't you?
Yes, and I'm also in the zone of unconditional love. And as much as I come from the higher realms and I'm allowed to go there, I'm also allowed to go to the lower realms. And at one point I did, to understand why the things were happening on this planet that were happening, the evil things. So when I went there, I got to see that people who had done those things, they themselves as children had been harmed, and there was just this continuation of harm that needs to be healed. A person who's been abused as a child often grows up to be an abuser, and we need to look at solutions rather than saying we need to kill or murder these people.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that even though this is happening in elite places, it's happening in everyday homes. I work with thousands of people all around the world, and I can tell you 4 out of 5 people have been abused as children. This is a spiritual disease goes much further than our elite. It's the entire planet that is, they're feeding off each other. I call it soul trafficking, much beyond just physically harming each other. They're eating each other's soul energy. And what's happening is a person, when they've been abused as a child, they're depleted of energy. Their energy gets vamped from them. So then they're drawn to people or children who have energy. So we have this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
People are abusing each other because of the fact that they are on a subconscious level, on an energetic level, they're starving and they're drawn to that light in others. So they're stealing that light. And we need to teach them how to bring the light back into themselves so that they can heal rather than them stealing it from others.
Yeah.
So this planet, most of the people on this planet are in a state of fight or flight. They're in a state of survival. They're not in a state of higher consciousness. They're coming from the reptilian cortex of the brain. So we have a huge problem with predators all around this planet, and we need to bring the solutions. Otherwise, if we want to lay blame on everyone, we might as well just nuke our planet and annihilate our total.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that it's not so much that this information, these facts are coming to the surface on a collective level with ease and grace, as much ease and grace as possible, soft disclosure, whatever you want to call it. I'm not so caught up on did it happen? And I think more and more people are starting to realize this stuff's been going on. My interest is in the potential of what you're talking about, of the individual self-transformation, thereby contributing to the collective transformation and the universal transformation, the universal gift we give to the universe by virtue of how are we going to respond? How are we going to respond when there's military tribunals and there's judgments that come down? How are we going to respond? Are we going to go vigilante mode and want to kill everybody, energetically speaking? Or are we going to go into that level of unconditional love, or the levels of unconditional love and compassion that you're referring to, that you've experienced?
And I think that's the difference. When somebody has entered the higher creator God space and understood that they are God, then they start to understand that we shouldn't murder or hurt or want to harm those who have, rather we should help them. I think that this is the best place from, because otherwise we might as well, like I said, nuke our entire planet.
Yeah.
As much as there's abusers in the elite groups, there's abusers in everyday homes. And
Absolutely.
so this is, like I said, a spiritual solution. And why are people doing it? Because they're energetically starving and they're going after the light in children, because children have a lot of light. So we need to teach people how to bring that light back into themselves so that they can heal, so that they will go out of that fight or flight state back into the higher consciousness state. Because when our body's filled with energy, we are in a state of higher consciousness. When we're depleted in energy, we're in the fight or flight survival state. This is the problem we have right now. So for me, and this is a message I'm trying to get out there on a much higher level, because I see everyone arguing and accusing each other and pointing fingers and sending anger and saying we should murder or we should destroy or this, and this is wrong, because none of us we've all been guilty of things at one point, doing things at one point or another that wasn't great to ourselves or others, and we need to start with forgiveness. And like I said, even if you did kill off those people, which you might as well kill off most of the planet who are abusers, that's not going to take care of the spiritual problem that's going on this planet, the spiritual disease that's going on this planet. In fact, it's only going to make it worse. And you become a murderer when you murder a murderer.
Well, and even energetically speaking, we got to remember, we're energy. So you can be a perpetrator in many, many ways, in many, many instances. But I'm with you. And this is one thing I've noticed this year. I don't know. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it. 2020 has been a phenomenal year. There's no doubt about it. 2019, 2018, I mean, they were all like, mammoth years. 2019 has just been like every month has been like 10 years. I mean, the amount of revelation and epiphany coming to people individually, collectively, what's coming to the surface slowly but surely, the divisiveness that you're speaking of, the polarities have gotten more extreme and more enhanced, more magnified. But at the same time, there seems to be, at least in the circles or the field of consciousness that I'm a part of in the overall, mm-hmm. That is that there seems to be more and more evidence every day that the universal energy that is comprised of the star family, of the ancient light beings you're talking about, of all of that comprises the universe, and therefore ourselves, there seems to be some serious reciprocation in a positive sense, support, nurturing, synchronicities and such that are lending to that we are turning this around and that we are expanding this unconditional love and expanding this compassion that you're talking about. Have you seen that in 2020? Are you seeing an improvement? Do you feel like that we're coming into a higher level of alignment?
I feel like we're going through the process right now of when you take the plant medicine and you have to face all the nightmares coming up so that you can come out the other side and really heal. So we're seeing what's truly going on, what was hidden on this planet. Also, what's really interesting in 2020, if you take out the zeros, you have 22, which is a Freemasonic master number. And it was, for me, with my observations, I've noticed that, you know, they like 22, 33, those numbers. What they wanted to do at the beginning of this year was to completely create chaos so that they could put everyone in fear, so that they could kind of bring in a new world order. Mm-hmm. Where they're given the vaccinations, where you listen to everything that they are saying, like that. So, but while that was coming into play, I was also noticing that, you know, the ETs, the different councils of spirits, the divine, because I speak to the divine above most, we're saying, okay, people will wake up as there's more pressure from their elite who are in league with lower forces, who are very lost souls, who, you know, they want power and fame and money and all those things. So that's to cover up all the unhealed things within them, that they will be pressuring more darkness. So will light also be coming in. So there's right now we have these, like you were saying, there's intense light and there's the intense darkness right now. Humanity is going through this phase, this plant medicine phase of where they're facing all these things, and we need to understand being awake is to go into unconditional love and be a solution bringer. That's what truly being awake is. And it's not something I can even physically express to you. It's a feeling. When I look at a person, and even though they've done terrible things, I have just this uttermost compassion and forgiveness for them. So it's a frequency that we have to achieve. And we can only achieve that frequency once we clear out our bodies, once we clear out our entire system. And once we start taking care of our health, once we start getting really healthy, once we start connecting to nature, then we're vibrating up here and we're seeing things from up here rather than down. And we realize, you know, we know the answer to everything. So this is something right now that's being pressured upon everyone. And there's a lot of people in the white community who need to really step into that unconditional love more. And I'm going to say, just knowing about ETs or underground bases doesn't mean you're awake. You really
No. And yes, we're on the same page. So like our friend Kathy Mason asked a question, how do you stay, you know, high vibrational or something to that effect? And you just said it, you know, handle your own shift. I mean, you just said it. I mean, even though all this stuff is going on out there, the best contribution we can make is within our own field. And what you're describing is exactly what I've been seeing this year. For instance, I'm noticing that the disclosure / conspiratorial type of media platforms are not pulling in the type of energetic force of expansion that they used to. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. What I'm saying is that the love, the unconditional love and the compassion that you're talking about is not all fluffy love and light. It's actually taking into account the darkness. It's owning that as part of our experience and being a co-creator. But what I wanted to ask you in regard to that, with the experience that you've had and the awareness that you have. Now, it seems to me that because you talk about the elite and the 1%, but we know that there are energies behind them. Okay, and we can go back to the Nag Hammadi and see that in many other cases. Now, what I'm trying to say is, it seems that the earth frequency is rising. And as it rises, just like when somebody wants to connect to the higher ups, they've got to raise their frequency. The higher ups got to come down just a little bit. But certainly they can't do it in, let's just say, the lower dimensions. These nefarious energies have been operating, these distorted energies have been operating in the third, in the fourth dimension, or whatever, the lower dimensions. as we're raising our frequency, are they losing their impact as the star family and the higher ups are gaining in their influence?
That is a great question, but let me just say this. They are not the ones in power. We are. And when we got cut off a while ago, and this is what I was trying to express. So I had to pass through Area 51 when
That's
I
right.
Shasta from Sedona, and I immediately went to the state and I tapped into the underground base there, and it's a very negative base. And I was there, and I remember every time I get in a place where there's a lot of negativity, my heart knows directly. It just lights up and pulses love. It doesn't matter how dark the being is; it just pulses love. It's like, and so then they started to respond. It was really interesting. And I said, "Why are you guys doing this?" And they said, first of all, some of your elite leaders are doing more terrible things than us. That's one of the things they told me. Second, they said to me, we're only drawn to planets that have a layer of this black smoke around them because of their unprocessed karma and because of the bad deeds they're doing to each other. We're only on this planet because we're allowed to be here because of the negative karma of humanity that they have not processed. So tell humanity, they have the power to tell us to leave. Go process those energies, go clear them, and we will leave. They can tell us to leave the planet and we will leave. And I said, and then I could feel his heart connection to them, even though they're very dark beings that are lost from the light. So I was thanking them for this, and I had these tears. We were stopped at this gas station. I had these tears that were coming out, and I remember thinking, I said to them, is there anything that I can do to help you guys? Because I know you live in torment every day, every second of the day, in that dark place that you guys are in. And they said to me, we're from a previous creation. And they said, they're like, we're from a previous creation and we lost the light. We got lost.
Yeah.
And humanity could actually help us, because when they find their light, they can pass that light to us to help us. Yeah. So that was like a solution. And that just made me like overjoyed. I was like extremely overjoyed, because rather than saying, if I had come from a place of anger and then just being, not listening to them and not caring, I would have got that. But the love that I came from, that reflected on them. And they said, you know what? We only steal the light because we lost it.
Like, yeah.
Humanity, yes, that they can find their light and pass it to us and help us out. So there will be this chain reaction of this beautiful light energy. That's what I believe is, the enlightenment, the golden age. Even in the Bible, where it talks about that people are like the walking dead and they'll wake up. It doesn't mean they'll come out of the tombs and graves and cemeteries. The energy will fill them, and they'll be like, oh, even though I'm alive, I'm truly not.
Right.
And when you have that energy that fills you, you can feel a tree outside. You can feel people across the world. This is how I'm able to work on people and help them heal us, because I can just channel the energy. So then we can channel all that energy through us, and we can pass it to those who have lost the light.
Right on. As an example too, I have to speak more and try not to explain it, but to what you're saying. So like this would have been, what is it, September? I can't remember any dates anymore. I don't know about you, but so just like say 4 months ago. So my wife and I were down in Florida. We connect every night. And on this particular night, the room filled with reverence and respect and love and honor. And there was some kind of beady little eyes, green energy. It was reptilian. And they came in and they said, listen, our job is done. We had a role to play. It wasn't always easy. But this was our part of it. And it was a very honorable, respectful, reverent experience. And I know that there's no linear. And I know we can't say, oh, this is a chronological way of it's really happening. But it's to what you're saying. The energy of it is to what you're saying. And I love what you said about, because we drove past Area 51, had our own experience a few months ago. But I love what you were saying about, you could have come back with, hey, what's up? Angry, pissed off, and like begets like. And this is what I love about your message and some of the messages I hear on the show, which is about self-empowerment. And we are that God substance. They are that God substance. So it's kind of like this. If somebody is somebody projects. It doesn't matter who started it, right? You're talking about solution and resolution. It doesn't matter who hit who first, because I have the power, you have the power, we have the power to alter the energy, to alchemically change it. And the way you do it is what you're talking about, is coming back from the highest level of love and compassion and understanding and awareness and wisdom and courage that you are. Because that has an influence on what is ultimately a mirror of ourselves, does it not?
It does. And, you know, with the reptilians, when I was a little girl, I was in France, and because I'm dual nationality, and I remember I was doing a lot of meditation and prayer, and the reptilians came to me and they said, we're starving. We feed on light because we're starving. We were once an ascended race. And when they showed me they were these beautiful beings that had all these different colors, like the rainbow colors, and they were just a beautiful race. And they said, a lot has fell from the divine. Humanity has fell from the divine. I think on this planet, we like judging other races in this community, but everybody's falling from the divine. We should stop pointing fingers, and to try to help each other to raise back up and ascend. And so they showed me, they said, listen, first of all, if you're coming from your heart, we have great honor and respect for you, because they said that's been lost a long time ago. People who truly come from unconditional love. And they said they had fallen. They said, originally there were these light portals that were open that they could, the light would come and feed them because they don't eat food like we do.
Right.
So, and I believe some of the kind of these stories, one of the stories being the story in the Bible in Egypt where they open up the gates of wheat, where the golden wheat comes out. I believe that's the golden light portals, and we'll have to speak more about this. Maybe we can do an interview on it, and I'll talk about the portals that the elite have open to the lower realms, and then there's the portals to the higher realms, and how we have to close the portals to the lower realms. We can do this because we have God power within us. We are God, and we need to open the gates to the higher realms to let that energy come in and heal us, and also just heal all these different beings that have lost the light. So they were telling me, they said, we are survivors. We're trying to survive just like humanity's trying to survive. Everything's in survival mode. And that was my experience with them. But I got to see, like, when they were healed, how beautiful they were. Some quite high up beings.
Yeah.
It is in my heart that they one day also find the light again and ascend back to that beautiful place where they come from.
Yeah, it's a collective operation here. It's not just the human hybrid souls here. It's the whole entire kit and caboodle. Multiverses, whatever, however it goes. But I love what you're saying too, because the thing is, when I first reawoke 9 years ago, I spent a lot of time in what I realized now was the fourth dimension, the astral. Mm-hmm. So there was and I was amazed because there was ego. At least that's the way I defined it. There wasn't this illuminated being and everything was perfect. I saw some of that, but my point was, I realized that wasn't just unique to this realm. But at the same time, like this conversation that you had with the reptilians, and even some of the experiences I've been a privy to, either myself or through other people, talking to other people, the survival word jumped out at me. We know how the survival frequencies, energy has impacted us in our root chakra and so on. And I just remember hearing many times years ago when I was first starting out that a soul can't survive because a soul never dies. So like, it seems like when we lose our connection with that higher realm, we also lose it within ourselves and start to look at things that there is life and death, and that there is, some of the things that we know are in play here in this realm, but don't apply in other places. But I got to believe that this whole, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this. This whole thing that we're experiencing, this number of incarnations here, particularly in the Earth realm, as they're connected to all of our other incarnations and aspects, is ultimately a journey of expansion for ourselves and for this universe. How do you feel about that?
It's an experience. And for me, experiences are beautiful because I remember back 2 billion years. I remember many different lifetimes and planets. And for me to sit there and just have the experience of watching a sunrise or sunset, I realize how loved I am that the divine has created that just for me to watch and see, and that's beautiful. So it's the experience of love, unconditional love, and we just need to find that in ourselves and know that it's been in there all along, just turned away from it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I always love to ask people like you this question. What do you do when you get triggered? And if you would, tell us how you come back to balance, just for the sake of us maybe picking up on the code.
I think when I was younger, I was triggered about, I was just triggered over some of the things of how people can be so mean online. And it's like now nothing phases me. So I'm pretty, yes. And like I said, I achieved that ability where I can just sense the person or sense, and I just know they're coming from a space that's not the best, that they're not, you're not a mean person. If you're happy inside, you're not going to be a mean person online or to other people. So I understand that they're suffering on some level. So I'm not triggered by it. I just wish them healing and wish them blessing. Yeah.
And what about, now this is another thing I think people are learning to come to terms with. It used to be, if you went back a few years ago, people would say, you got to protect yourself. Something's coming at me. And this would be, I think, in a lesser understanding of more separation, less unity, less oneness. But what I'm getting at is now it seems to have evolved a little bit. What's your take on this? Are there external energies that can encroach upon our energetic field? Is it only if we allow it to, whether we're duped or we do it, in conscious choice? Are there things that we need to be aware of? And if so, how does that work? And how can we fortify our energetic field?
One, it's up to us. So if we're doing negative deeds to ourselves and others, we will immediately attract to ourselves negative energies. And those negative energies are eaten. They're like, in the bottom of the ocean, you have the feeders that feed on all of the pollution and gunk. That's how they are. So we attract them to ourselves. So we need to stop playing victim. And when we just start to clear ourselves, they will leave. So we have the power over this. A lot of people out there right now are infected. They're infested spiritually because they have not cleared themselves. They have done terrible deeds to others and themselves. And because they're not in a state of unconditional self-love. And so that what they're doing is they're just doing these acts that aren't great for themselves and others, which is attracting to them these negative forces. And like I said, we have the ability to tell them to leave, and they will leave. But we also must do the thing to get them. So we can take herbs, we can do spells, we can lay in the sun, under the moon, on the ground. We can ground ourselves, lay out in nature, and that brings in good energies. And when our energy is high enough, these negative things just leave because they can't stand.
Right. Would you say, let me get your take on this one. I love this conversation. Would you say that let's just say it's me, if I complain that every time I'm in a relationship, the same thing happens, or why are people always coming and disrespecting me, or whatever loop is playing in my life that I'm externalizing, as opposed to saying, hey, it's happening because of something in me, not something out there. Would you say that scenario at the human level is the same energetic loop as what you just described from the non-physical level? Whether these energies are coming and they're invisible to me, or whether these energies are coming to me and it's my mean mother-in-law, whatever the case is. Would you say that, number one, it's the same energetic loop, and number two, it has the same solution?
When we trust ourselves, we will manifest trustworthy people. Within ourselves, what we believe about ourselves will manifest back to us.
Right.
If you're truthful to yourself, you will manifest such. If you're good to yourself, you will manifest such. But there are also some times when people are sent to test us. And when we pass those tests, then we are about to achieve a higher state of spirituality.
Yeah.
And this happened to me years ago because I'm always doing my best to come from a place of truth and goodness. And sometimes I was encountering people and I was asking these questions of like, why am I encountering these people? And my answer was, they're here to test you. You're having bad parents was to test you. Having this or this or this was to test you and see how you would react. And it was also to help you spiritually grow, because without pressure, if you just had an easy life, you would have not grown spiritually. So I understood this.
Yeah.
And need to understand that sometimes people who come to us, they're not a reflection of us. They're just a test. And God's source is seeing how we will react to them.
Yeah, we had a beautiful story last Friday on the last show of the week. A gentleman by the name of John. I can't remember his last name because I have no 3D memory, but he talked about how he was sexually molested as a child by his father. And then as he got older, they had an estranged relationship. So right before the father's going to pass, the family calls him, and I guess he said his goodbye. But more importantly, his father came to him in dimension. And he said, I need to ask your forgiveness. He said, yes. He said, you realize that when you forgive me, you're forgiving yourself? He says, yes. And then he says, let me bring you the scenario back into your field, which was up there in those realms before you came down here. You asked me to play this role. You asked me to play this role in the purpose of it was for your own individual opportunity to expand. And it really struck me because you could see both sides of it. You could see the impact that it had on the human being aspect, and you could also see that awareness at a higher level through his story, and his experience. And I think, I guess, where I'm going with this is that regardless of our level of activity in the higher dimensions or the non-physical dimensions, and or our level of activity here, that we're actually bringing this together in some beautiful way to a 0 point to create new creation energy. How would you feel about that? Does that jive with you?
I do agree on that. I have a quick story here about Jeffrey Epstein. I know it's probably not the name a lot of people want to hear. And while everybody was spewing a lot of hate about him online, I had this experience at the time, because I'm in life, I spend my time meditating, doing work to help out the planet, or working with people. I have a very tight, strict schedule, which you probably know in booking me for this show. So I had this experience. I just decided to avoid online and all the negativity for a while. And before he died, he told me they were going to kill him. I could talk because I can speak to a person's soul. I can speak to their soul across the world. I can speak to ETs and other dimensions. So I'm able to do those things. And that's what happens when you step into God creator space. You get superhuman abilities. And I knew he was going to die. And while he was dying, I had this experience. So I was there, and there was his soul. And of course I connected to it, and he was crying. And he was like a little child crying, and he was saying, I'm sorry. And I got to see that as a child, he had been abused.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up to be an abuser. He had been groomed to be who he was. He had been groomed to provide children for the elite. And he was one of those children who had been abused and then groomed. And why he did what he did. And I could just see the remorse. And he said he was sorry. And this voice kind of came. It was like God itself, and said to him, I love you. The world may hate you, but I love you. And I know you got lost from me. Welcome back home.
Right on.
And it was one of the most beautiful things of how God loves us and how we can get so lost. And even though the world might hate us because we've done terrible things, God still loves us. And I had that experience, and it still to this day touches me. And I had tears. I remember coming down. There was part of my team, and I was just crying. I'm like, everybody just send love, because he was hurt as a child. That's why he did this. Let's not partake in all the aggressiveness and all the everybody else. So yes, our higher know that we should in the end, know that we're eternal, and it's better to forgive those who have done deep harm to us or to others. And I myself, as a child, and I willingly came into a body and had abuse as a child so I could understand what children were going through on this planet. So I had an abusive childhood, but I have forgiven those people. And I've that my parents were not great because their parents, my grandparents had, there was this, and I needed to break that I needed to break almost like that curse of abuse. And
absolutely. It's just a story. It's crazy too, because I had that download last night in my own personal life about sexual distortion, and I actually watched it all play out, and I said to myself, this, or the voice, or the higher self says, this was your biggest challenge, the biggest thing that you've overcome or neutralized. And then I was shown, which, I mean, I've heard these things before, but like you said a minute ago, you can't really tell somebody something. They've got to actually feel it and experience it. And then I was shown how, in terms of the blood lineage, and even beyond, even in the etheric lineage, that, and of course I'm talking about the short past, the distant, not too far out, but that when we do something like that, how it affects all of our lineage around us.
Oh, it does.
How we were, people talk about how certain people have come here, star seeds, blue rays, whatever, and get planted in these families to transform. My wife went through the same thing from 3 to 13. I heard her story when I first met her, and I'm like, holy crap. I mean, how could you even come back from that? How can you even be like that? Be the compassionate, unconditional, loving person you are. But I saw it last night, and it's interesting that you're bringing it up, because I was shown how it affected, in a very positive way, illuminated basically this big circle of light along the paths of past, present, future, parallel, and that type of thing. So yeah, we could talk for a long time, no doubt. It's 5:55 in New York City, so that means something. We're going to be in Sedona for a couple of weeks. If you want to get together, I'd love to sit down and have a chat. It's going to be a busy schedule too, but if it's okay with you, we'll reach out to you. There's a lot of other people that are coming to Sedona, and they're obviously that are there already, that we're going to hook up with. But yeah, if you're open to it, we'd love to do it again.
Will do. I'll bring you some of my magic potions. I have like 1 million different herbs and tinctures. I like creating these beautiful high energy potions.
Do you have one for converting your hair back to black or getting your 3D memory back? I'm just playing around. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service to humanity. I look forward to collaborating with you again, and all blessings to you and yours.
Thank you so much for having me on. You have a blessed evening, okay?
All right, you take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See y'all in a couple days.